right, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Earth's Mightiest Comics in the Show. Every episode we talk about the new comics that came out that week, and we let you know what we think about them, whether or not we enjoyed them, or if we think they were not all that great. This week is it's definitely a much lighter week than last episode. It's light enough that we will not be splitting the recording into two parts. So that automatically does make it less hectic of a week, but. As always, there is stuff that we will still stuff to talk about here, including some House of Brainiac stuff. We have the next core part of the series here with Action Comics. We have a Blood Hunt tie-in, only one of them, and it's, to be honest, it's not that connected to Blood Hunt, but that's okay, whatever. Stuff like also the finale of Dark Ride, but we're going to be starting with the Doctor Doom one-shot simply titled Doom #1. Now, this is written by... Well, it's kind of it's a very much a dual effort. We have Jonathan Hickman writing it. Sanford Green is the artist, but both Jonathan Hickman and Sanford Green kind of co-plotted and did the story together. So this issue is set far in the future of the Marvel Universe. It's a little bit unclear if it's 616 or not, but it probably is. Oh wait, no, this lists it as the Alternaverse, so not the 616, a different version of the Marvel Universe. Far, far in the future, where essentially Galactus got sick of the current version of the cosmos and has decided to just eat the whole thing and then kickstart the next cosmos. So for anybody who's not aware of the kind of cosmology of the Marvel Universe, it's a little bit complicated. Essentially, before the current version of the Marvel Universe, there was a series of other versions, right? They call them like the first cosmos, the second cosmos. So I think currently we are up to like the 8th or the 9th. However, that does not mean that like the comics have shown all those previous ones. Like 616 back in the 60s started it was not laid out this way initially, but it was retconned to be that was like the 8th cosmos or the 7th cosmos if we were on the 8th now. So it started a little bit later in the cycle, and then during Secret Wars back in 2015, that's the only cosmos transition we've seen. So it went from either the 7th to the 8th or the 8th to the 9th, and it kind of rebooted the universe there, while still keeping a lot of the same continuity and characters and everything. But essentially, Galactus, in the previous version of the cosmos, he was the only one to have survived from the one before that, right? So he, at this point, has seen 3 of them, I think. And so he's also the one that is kind of going to kickstart the next cosmos, boot it into either the 9th or the 10th, depending on where we are now. So anyway, this is where this kind of kicks off, where he's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna make the next universe start up and just like completely destroy this current version of the cosmos. So we see a lot of that in flashback. Essentially, Doom tried to stop him. He built like this big mega like mecha Doom suit, right? Yeah. And flew out into space to try and stop Galactus. But Galactus was going on a fucking tear. Like, it's not his standard, like, just kind of slowly going through the cosmos, just eating a planet here or there. Like, he's just, like, fucking going wild. Yep. So Doom was outmatched. He fell, and then Galactus made it to Earth. All the Earth's heroes tried to stop him, including Daredevil. There was a panel with Daredevil there. I was like, let's fucking go. He was there in one panel. And so they all lost, though. They all died. A bunch of the other like space cosmic heroes, they tried to stop him. They all died. So now we're at the point where everybody in this version of the cosmos, except for Doom and Valeria Richards, everybody else is dead. Valeria Richards being the daughter of Mr. Fantastic. So, and also kind of the adopted niece of Doom. Yeah, she's always called him uncle, even though he and Reed are not related. So that's where this kicks off, and so we kind of catch back up after Doom's fight with Galactus. He's very much not doing well, but he's still alive. So Valeria kind of brings him back to health. They make a new Doombot suit that's like powered by 3 of the cosmic cubes, and like they inject him with the super soldier serum to stabilize his blood so that he can then also get like celestial DNA like injected into him. Not that really seems like it would help much, because Galactus also killed all the fucking pantheon of like celestials and all the cosmic beings in the universe as well. But then there's a big fight. Valeria ends up dying in the process of trying to stop the machine that will kind of kickstart the destruction of this cosmos and the transition to the next one. And then Doom dies in battle with Galactus.
Does he die?
I think so.
Kind of vague.
It is a little bit vague. I assumed that he died. but I don't know. I don't know for sure. So that's kind of where this is, and I think it's good. Let me see here. Trying to see, is this my pick of the week?
Oh wow, I'd be surprised if it was, honestly. For me, not a lot of stuff stood out this week, really,
Yeah,
So, I guess
agree. Yeah.
it wouldn't really surprise me if you gave this pick of the week.
Yeah, I think I might. I think this was very solid. I kind of like the approach that Jonathan Hickman is just taking with Marvel right now, where he's just kind of doing a bunch of just it seems like Marvel's kind of just letting him write whatever he wants to, which I think is great, because he's a great writer. And, he's just kind of doing these kind of self-contained little one and done kind of stories, it seems. I mean, he's doing this. He's doing a Wolverine little thing in August. And he's the one that's writing the Aliens versus Avengers series coming up in July. So he's kind of just having fun, seemingly just doing a bunch of kind of disconnected small projects. Obviously, he's also, of course, doing Ultimate Spider-Man, which is kind of his longer project. But so I think great, just let Jonathan Hickman do cool disconnected, one-shot stuff like this. I mean, they should just let Jonathan Hickman write whatever he wants to, because he's a fantastic writer generally. And then I think the art is also pretty spectacular. Some really interesting layouts. I think some of those spreads where you just see all of the heroes kind of converging on Galactus in various forms, it looks pretty spectacular. Some of it I found a little bit difficult to parse at times, but it was never overly so to the point where it was really kind of distracting or really hard to follow. So ultimately, I think it was a very cool, just kind of fun, well, maybe not fun, it's pretty bleak actually, but good little cosmic story here, and also a good showcase of Doom. I think Doom's dialogue all feels very authentic to him, and I think he was written very well within his kind of character traits and everything. So genuinely very, very solid issue. I think I had a good time with this one. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, okay. I thought this one was. I thought it was alright. It didn't really grab me. I thought there were some cool bits, namely what you said, seeing all the heroes and villains of Earth converge, and then also seeing the ones from space converge on Galactus and trying to defeat them. And Doom's new cosmic suit, I thought that looked pretty cool with the hood and cape were essentially cosmic energy, and I thought that looked pretty cool and stuff like that. And for the most part, I thought the story was well written and stuff like that too. Besides that, I couldn't really explain to you why I didn't this one didn't really jump out at me as much. But for the most part, even though it was honestly a lot of dialogue and not as much action, it wasn't very hard to read, like some other comics that are exactly like this. But I just thought it was all right. Honestly, nothing too crazy for me. I gave it a 7.
I gave it an 8. Cool cover though. All the rings, I like that.
Yeah, all the rings. You can see the different see some different Doom suits in there. And anyway, let's talk about Blue Beetle.
Okay, this is Blue Beetle number 9, written by Josh Trujillo, and the artist is Adrian Gutierrez. We are rapidly approaching the end of this series, which feels very strange. It does not feel like this series is about to end, especially because Jaime is constantly talking in this issue about how he's yeah, Ted said there's some bad shit coming. And I'm well, we've got 2 issues left, so there can't be that much of it. But anyway, so this starts off right where the last issue ended, where Pinnacle is there. Jaime's about to throw down with Pinnacle, but Victoria Court is able to kind of shut it down before that happens. And so after that, we get a lot of character drama. And I gotta say, this is probably the best this dialogue has felt to me, I think. I think the character interactions and some of the angst and the character drama between all of these characters, I think played really well. For the most part, particularly as a conversation between Brenda and Jaime towards the start, where Jaime's just why are you doing this? Why are you working with Victoria? Why have you, you have just given her Roma's Beetle, Noldar, and, now she's just, loading it with a bunch of other alien tech. What are you doing? And I think that conversation between the two of them was really effective, and that's kind of saying something, because I don't really remember who Brenda even is, but I was
about to ask you who she was. And okay, so the fact that you don't know either is
right. Yeah, I didn't really know that either. So but the fact that it's still, I think that dialogue still worked and was so effective, I think is a testament to the writing there, because I think that was really pulled off well. And then so after the whole incident with Pinnacle, Victoria's okay, let's start over. I'll keep the Beetle, but let's just fucking wipe Pinnacle in case something like that happens again. So she orders it to destroy itself. It kind of does, although it's also kind of clearly there's some weird stuff going on with its programming that's kind of making it difficult. But it seemingly does. And so Brenda ultimately has a change of heart and takes Noldar from the lab and is going to give it back to Jaime. And on the way to do that, she gets attacked by like a bunch of Victoria Cord's like drone things. It ends up like crashing her like flying car that she's in. I couldn't tell if it was a flying car. It kind of looked like it, but
I mean, it was definitely a flying car.
I just didn't know that DC had a city where flying cars were common.
I think that's Palmyra City now.
It is Palmyra, yeah. So yeah, that car crashes. And then the Beetle's there, Noldar is there, and then it just like reforms into a giant version of Pinnacle. And that is where the issue ends. So I definitely, not to say that I think this series has been bad at all. I think it's been, fairly solid, but it's also never been a series that's, for the most part at least, it hasn't really wowed me a lot of the time outside of specific sequences here and there. But with this issue, I was like, this series is good. And it's got a fun energy. It's got style. The art's great. Again, like every issue, I just find myself appreciating the art more. And I think it's been, I don't know, maybe it hasn't been selling that great, I guess, because DC's usually better about keeping ongoing, and so if they're kind of dropping this one, maybe it's not been selling super well, but it is just kind of strange. It's been well liked. I think it's been a well received run, and I certainly think it's been pretty solid. So it is weird that it is just kind of being cut here, especially when it seemed to be kind of building up so much. The other thing I didn't mention is also Ted's back.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really explain it, but he just shows up in Victoria Cord's place and he's like, all right, let's fix this. So like it's a little bit confusing to me because next issue is going to be the big fight with Pinnacle, and then I don't really know what issue 11 is doing. It seems like it's kind of just closing out the whole series, and then that's just kind of it. So we'll see. I think it's possible we'll see another volume of this at some point in the future with the same creative team. I don't know when that'll be, but regardless, I think this issue was very solid. I think it's one of the better issues of the run, actually. I think it was the way the dialogue flowed. I think it was all good. I think the pacing was good. There wasn't really any kind of big standout action moments in this, but it was building stuff up in a way that felt organic and natural and was building good momentum. So I enjoyed this. I do think it's one of the better issues of the series. I don't know if I think it's the absolute best, but it's definitely up there for me, I think.
No, yeah, I quite enjoyed this one as well. Like you said, it was the dialogue and just the way that it like flowed off of the characters felt more organic than usual, just like more emotion in it, And so, in this issue, Jaime mentions that he's still like wrestling with the fact that over the fact that like he killed, the blood scarab person, right? Mm-hmm. And so that like he mentions to Brenda like that's part of the reason why he doesn't understand why she gave Victoria the Beetle. Like he has no idea what they're capable of. And so that was like a big reason as to why he was so mad at her. And so, oh god, where was I going with this? I don't even know.
Is it that it doesn't really feel like Jaime is still getting over him killing the blood scarab, because that seems to have kind of been brushed over a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably what it was, because my problem with this, right? I feel like we don't get a lot of Blue Beetle actually, like in general.
Yeah.
Like, there's not really. It's just a lot of the side characters, and he's just like thrown, like, since he's the main character, he's just like kind of thrown in to like deal with their messes. But like, there's not a lot of him himself. Like, I feel like we don't get a lot of like Jaime.
I will say I don't think that's been a problem the entire series, but I think that is, there definitely are. I mean, I think like issues number 6 and 7, for instance, those were very Jaime centric.
Yeah, exactly. But that was like literally when he was facing off against the final boss. But then like I bet like the next two are probably gonna be like pure Jaime. Maybe we'll probably get like obviously some like Ted and Victoria in there, because they're a big part of that too. But like the weird alien people that like are getting like kicked off the planet, we've kind of like glossed over that at this point. We're just purely focused on this, and that might be the fact that like it got, like you said, like cut, like we're just like stopping after, what is it, 11 or something?
Yeah.
Right. So maybe they just couldn't continue with that story, but like I feel like we're just like we're cutting a lot here. I don't. Yeah. Feeling a bit abrupt, but besides that, really, I just I mean, there were good conversations in this one. Like you could tell they were heartfelt, that you could tell like the angst behind their you could tell from like just by reading it, like you could tell their emotion behind the voice and stuff like that. Ted showing up at the end to Victoria being like, what, like basically like, what the fuck have you done? She's like, I've just been trying to help. And he's like, that's fine. Let's fix it now. And so we'll see exactly what happens there. And then yeah, Pinnacle just absorbed a bunch of like technology and trash around him, I guess, and grew super big. It kind of reminded me of like, for some reason, like Parasite, Superman's villain.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. Just that shot at the very end just reminded me of that for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Besides my complaining about that whole Blue Beetle not really being in the series, I thought this one was pretty good, pretty alright. And so yeah, I gave it an 8.
I give it an 8 as well. Let's move on here. Let's talk about Dark Ride. This is Dark Ride number 12, written by Joshua Williamson. The artist is Andre Brisson. This is the finale of Dark Ride. For now, they leave some stuff open. I mean, I'm not saying that like there's going to be another series, but like they leave enough stuff open where if they did have another series, I would not be surprised.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
This is the finale, as far as we know, of the series. After many inconsistent publishing schedules and delays and all sorts of stuff, we are finally at the finale for this series. And I don't know, man.
Man, dude, honestly,
I just can't bring myself to care about it. Like, and it started off very strong, but it's just and it's, I don't even think it's the fault of the story. The story's fine, but it's just been so all over the place in terms of publishing. I don't feel like the story has been gripping enough to keep me, hooked the whole way. Again, like it does leave stuff open for a potential, more stuff in the future. I don't think we'll make a sequel to this, but maybe it'll happen at some point. I don't know. But if it does, I don't think I'm going to read it straight up. I cannot see myself jumping back into another, version of this series when I just kind of don't have any strong feelings about this series or this world anymore.
Yeah.
As far as this issue goes, it is it picks up after the last issue where the big devil is there and he's wreaking havoc on Devilland, and he's like, hey, we gotta have one of the Dante family needs to do a sacrifice, and otherwise you're all going to hell. And so they all kind of they bicker about it for a little bit, they fight for a little bit. The Arthur Dante keeps essentially trying to be like, hey, just let me I have so many ideas for the ride, just let me keep running Devilland. And the devil wants Sam to do it. Essentially, the devil was saying like he would essentially like just fulfill Sam's dream, and he would finally get to run Devilland and all this great stuff, and all his vision would finally be realized.
The devil wants Sam because Sam has something to sacrifice, essentially.
Right. Yeah. He's like, if you kill your family, you can just get everything. But Sam's like, no, fuck you. I don't want to do that. And then Halloween is like, well, fuck it. I'm gonna just fucking be the ruler of Devilland now. So she kills her dad. She stabs him, and then he's like looking at the statue of himself, and then like it turns into his dead wife and drives him away into hell or something. Yep. And that's kind of it. There's a little bit of an epilogue where they're like, oh, what happened to Devilland? By the way, how the fuck did nobody die there other than Arthur? There were so many fucking spectators being like, let's go, rock on, fucking burn the theme park down, and nobody died.
All right, like all right, here's what I think about this one. This was a letdown. Like huge letdown. So first of all, that whole ending scene, like understandable. Okay, the devil wants somebody to take over, so he getting sacrifices, whatever. Like that makes perfect sense. Whatever. At this point, I don't think this took place in the real world. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
All those people were just watching. They saw Halloween literally stab her dad, see him get dragged to hell, literally, right? They see the thing burn down, right? And then at the end, you see the news lady, right? You see her basically be like, this is what happened. Like, this was a one-time ride. It was meant to, like, burn down whatever. And, Halloween took over after her dad's death. They literally saw her dad die, though.
Yeah.
And nobody's questioning that.
Yeah. They even make mention of the fact that, like, oh, yeah, when she opened up the new Devilland, her first thing was to invite everybody to her dad's funeral, and then she danced on his grave. And it's like,
and then also, like, the fact that, like, after that whole tidbit took place, they discovered a bunch of things about Devilland, and it almost closed down. Yeah. And so that's why Halloween, like, basically opened up an entirely new park, essentially.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure in the exact same place, but, like, that's besides the point.
Yeah, it's like Christmas Land now.
Yeah, it looks Christmassy, yeah. And then, the epilogue. Like, Sam and Halloween are, like, literally, like, fine. Like, I don't think they talk, really, but, like,
no,
they don't hate each other, right? And then there's the other the blonde lady
Summer.
that was
Summer,
Summer, yeah, her, who is staying in Halloween Land, looking, or not Halloween Land, but Princess Land, I think is what it was called.
Yeah, that they
towards the
renamed
end.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Princess Land with the new park to like essentially look over Halloween, who just seems like a normal person. Like this whole devil business never took place. Like they're
Yeah.
just like, yeah, it's done and over with. I just opened a
Yeah.
new park and that's it. Like, what? Are you kidding me?
But Sebastian, you see the little devil on the side. It's like, ooh, it's looking out over the riding. And it's
Yeah,
like, ooh.
that's it. Like there's the one devil that's like peeking from behind. Like,
Yeah.
no, I didn't like this one. I didn't like the way this ended at all. I will say I just noticed that the first issue cover and this issue cover kind of resemble each other. They're very similar.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's intentional, you know. But I just noticed it and I wanted to point that out. But yeah, as much as I loved this series starting out, it went downhill for this ending here. It just was such a weak ending and it's just not good in my opinion. So I mean, even as an issue as a whole, I didn't really overly enjoy it that much.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like everything you kind of saw just like coming, honestly. Like Sam was never gonna didn't want anything to do with the park anymore.
Right.
Halloween wanted everything to do with it. You knew the dad was gonna die. So it's just like, yeah, it was just everything you just saw coming. So I didn't do it for me. So yeah, I gave this one a 5.
I had this one at a 7 at first. I think talking about it, I'm going to drop it to a 6. I think, like, I don't know, reading it, like, I didn't overly mind it. It didn't really bother me, and I think it was fun, and the art's still pretty decent. But I think my kind of big thing is, ultimately, I think why I gave it a 7 initially is because, again, like I said, I'm kind of beyond the point where I care about this series at all. So seeing all that stuff, I kind of just was mentally checked out and was like, the reading experience was fine, I'll give it a 7. But I think you're right. Like, a lot of that stuff is very strange and feels just kind of, it does feel like this is just kind of rushed out the door and being like, well, gotta wrap this series up. Let's just do this and, you know, find a point to wrap up the story where we can. But it didn't really work. And again, like, I just kind of, I think if the publishing schedule was not so weird, I probably would be a little bit less, you know, critical of this because it would have felt a little bit more just cohesive, I think. And it wouldn't have been such weird long gaps. I mean, because it was like essentially every other month by the time this series, like for the last half of this series. So, you know, I think it was fine for what it was as a whole. But ultimately, I think it did just kind of get to the point where I just stopped caring about it. And yeah, so I'm gonna give it a 6, and maybe that's what I even give the whole series. I don't know, but I would not pick up a sequel to this. If one does ever happen. So yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I just this one I'd be like, I don't see what they'd be able to do with the new sequel that wouldn't just be an entire repeat of this one. Honestly. Yeah. So yeah,
Christmas Land, Sebastian. Christmas Ride it'd be called.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, moving right along, let's talk about Napalm Lullaby.
So I can't actually because I didn't get to this one.
Oh my!
So this is just you.
Goodness. So I'm assuming you're just gonna drop this then.
Probably. I don't know. I'll read the next issue before I make a decision, but probably.
Gotcha. Well, I can tell you right now, I'm dropping it.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
It's not. Man, it's not that it's bad by any means. It's still not interesting yet.
Yeah.
And like, okay, hold on. Let me go over this. Okay, writer is Rick Remender, artist colorist is Bengal. Yeah, it's okay. So we're 3 in at this point, and it's just the same exact thing. Fake God. All right. So like this one, they're actually in the city. They're seeing like the whole like essentially it's kind of like a parade. They're basically just like walking to the big church while this like priest dude is just like speaking and stuff like that. And God, the dude on the cover, I don't remember his name.
Sam?
Yeah, Sam. So Sam with his like psychic powers, essentially, it's like being in here is like really fucking with his mind, I guess, because like everybody in this city basically like just doesn't care. Like they don't care about anything that goes on. They're just happy living their lives like monotonous, like not just like being like they're always safe. They don't have to worry about anything. Like, and that's like, I guess like really messing with his like psychic whatevers. And so he's like really like trying, like having a hard time trying to keep it together. And then right before they're discovered, there's another terrorist that also like snuck in, and they find him, and like the security people that are like watching over the parade or whatever. They find him, and he goes to like one of the statues to like essentially try and like suicide bomb it. They stop that. They shoot some like weird goo at him. The bomb goes off, but it doesn't destroy anything. It just like it's contained within this goo, and you just see his like skeleton there afterwards. And so they make it into the church, the three pairs, the father, Sarah, and Sam. So they make it into the church, whatever. And that's when the apostle of the god appears. Like basically, like if I had to say it, it'd be like the Pope, essentially.
Okay.
Like, it's like the speaker of the god.
Yeah, right.
He appears in like a hologram, whatever, and he like is basically talking to all of them and whatever. And so that's when Sam finally breaks towards the end of that speech, and so they're basically like, all right, we gotta get the dad's like, all right, we gotta get the fuck out of here. But Sarah's like, no, we didn't come all this way just like us to do nothing. And he's like, you gotta know when you're like basically beaten. And right as he's saying that, he gets zapped into bones, and he fucking dies. And then it cuts, and I believe what is their mom, the person that lured him there, is there in like a Power Girl cosplay costume. Honestly, looks exactly like Power Girl. She's flying and she has laser eyes. And she's basically like, she says some one-liner. I don't remember what the fuck it is, but yeah, that's how it ends, with the father fucking like burned, like zapped to oblivion. And yeah, honestly, I mean, even with that like kind of cliffhanger, I'm still just wasn't interested. It's just the same thing, just like they're trying to take down the religion thing, and like it's just like nothing new has happened yet.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It's still for me just uninteresting, and so yeah, I've lost it at this point, and it's just I usually try to give them 3, and
yeah,
I gave this one 3, and it just still didn't do anything for me. So yeah, gave it a 6.
All right. Well, we'll probably drop that as well. I have been very tempted to for a little bit anyway. So
yeah.
Okay, let's do What If Venom.
What If Venom? All right.
Yeah. This is written by Jeremy Holt, and the artist is Diogenes Neves. So, new artist on this, actually, and I do think the art looks better, generally.
I actually did notice that.
Yeah. So, I think this is the best issue of the series so far. However, that's not to say that I loved it, because I didn't love it, but moreover, I was just confused throughout most of this issue, because it's structured kind of strangely, where we have Moon Knight is kind of stuck in this weird like Groundhog Day loop kind of thing, where he keeps waking up in a coffin, and he keeps having run-ins with the symbiote, and he keeps having run-ins with Encantu, the living mummy, who sometimes dies and sometimes doesn't. And he keeps having encounters with Khonshu, who sometimes has the symbiote and sometimes doesn't, and is like, you failed me, Mark. And then he keeps having run-ins with Loki, who...
got taken over by the symbiote. Yeah,
but it's so vague, though, because he seems like he's still going for the symbiote as well, though. It seems like Loki is trying to get more pieces of the symbiote. But it's like, it never really answers, because Mark keeps asking, like, well, is this Loki's doing, or is it this, symbiote thing? It never really seems to answer it. And it also doesn't seem to, it seems to make it seem like the symbiote wants Loki to collect it, but then maybe it doesn't, and maybe it wants to just be with Mark, but then also maybe it just wants to see everybody fucking fight and kill each other, and then just take the strongest host. It seems like that might be maybe its motivation. I don't know, confusing as fuck. And then ultimately after that whole Groundhog Day sequence, Mr. Knight goes into probably his own mind, because he goes to see Jake Lockley.
Yeah.
And Jake is there, and he's in like a strip club, and then the person pole dancing is symbiote Loki.
That's right.
So that's how this one ends. I don't know. Again, I think this was actually not bad. I think this was again of the issues in the series so far, I think this is the best. This is the second to last one, so it's coming up on the finale here. But I'm just confused, and I think what I liked though, I do think there's kind of a creepy, eerie tone to this, where Mark keeps waking up and he's going through this, cyclical process of trying to figure out what's happening to him and everything. I was interested in that. I think it was interesting and mysterious, and kind of there's a bit of a creepy undertone that I think was cool. But I was just like, what? And also here's the other thing. I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do for the next issue, because they have to wrap this up somehow. To be fair, the next issue is seemingly focusing on Moon Knight because he's on the cover. But here's the thing. There's also there's 3 other people with symbiotes hanging around.
Yep.
They're not around right now. I know Moon Knight has been recruiting them to the Midnight Mission, but we didn't see them at all in this issue. And presumably they want to have a wrap up to all of their stories in the next one. So it's like, fucking how? This is like, there's so much left to cover. It does not feel like it's any way positioned to be going into the finale right now. So I don't know. I don't even have much to say on it besides that. It's just a very weird series. I don't know why this series is a thing that exists. It also still really doesn't feel like it needs to be a what if story. This feels like it could very well be 616 and it would not really be an issue, except for a few very, very minor things. The biggest one would be She-Hulk like being homeless and losing her job and everything. Other than that, there's like nothing that impacts the universe enough to make this not 616. So I don't know. Again, on its own, I think it's a totally fine issue. Maybe even decent or good-ish, but this series, it's just nothing. And I just don't care about the series, and I don't know why it exists, ultimately. Yeah.
Ultimately, it's a what if thing, so it doesn't really have to exist. But yeah, honestly, the fact that you say it's like good-ish, even that surprises me, honestly, because this was just, it was a mosh pit. Nothing made sense. Just
I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought that, because I was very confused.
How did Loki get the symbiote? First of all,
I don't know.
That was not explained at all. He was just.
I thought about asking that, but I was like, ultimately, I don't give a shit. To be honest.
Every other time we've seen how the next person gets the symbiote.
Yeah.
Right. Like She-Hulk got it because she was in the church when Flash. Is it Flash?
No, that would have been Eddie, right, in the church.
Eddie.
Yeah,
not Flash. Eddie. God. When Eddie was going to get the symbiote, she was in there and she got it instead, right? And then I don't exactly remember how Wolverine got it, but
it was from the bar because Sabretooth was
Sabretooth, right? Yeah. I just don't remember how it got left in the bar. No, Sabretooth stole it from
She-Hulk because they fought in issue number 1.
Yes. And then Wolverine fought Sabretooth, and that's how he got it. And Doctor Strange went to the bar after their scuffle, and that's how he got it. And then they all went to the Midnight Mission, which is, I'm assuming, how Moon Knight would have gotten it. But, they weren't in this at all. And so it's not explained.
But if Moon Knight got it from them, wouldn't he have known what it was? Because we've seen him go. So, why was he so fucking confused then?
Exactly. So then that was, my hypothesis at first was, okay, maybe this just takes place before all of that. And that's how he found out to, basically, unite all these other people that got it. But then that wouldn't have made sense because how would it have gotten onto Loki?
Right.
Beforehand,
and also, it looks like it's about to have the final fight with Loki next issue.
Yeah, so it's none of this made sense in it. Literally none of this made sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I understood the Groundhog Day bit. None of what they were talking about made sense at all, honestly. How did Venom, none of that made sense to me at all. Literally, they were just hopping around, and he was just, going to people, just, it's literally just the most confusing sequence I think ever. And then at the end he just meets Jake, and Loki is also in that.
Yep.
So it's there's just nothing. I don't know. Just
And here's actually, I guess it probably has to take place beforehand because you see. There's a point where he's where Jake is, or not Jake. Mark is I have this parasite, and you see flashes of all the other Venoms. That's probably how he found out about him. So when the fuck did he have time to go and get them all?
Exactly. That's what made me think that this took place before. But then I'm it doesn't make sense because then how is Loki there? It makes no sense.
Because my theory last time was that maybe Enchantress snagged some off of Strange when they fought, and that's how it got to him.
That's right.
Which I think would have made sense. But if this takes place before, then that's not an option. So
that's not an option.
Yeah.
So literally, it doesn't the timeline is just not adding up at all. And even if this took place afterward, for the fact that maybe you could argue that since Mark and Jake are separate identities, that's why Mark didn't know about it or whatever. But well,
I think Mark has gone as himself though. Didn't he go to? Wasn't he the one that went to Strange?
No, it's always been Jake.
No, because Steven was She-Hulk. It was Steven for She-Hulk, then Jake for Wolverine.
Was it?
And I think it was Mark for Strange. Yeah. So
I thought it was always Jake.
No, it was definitely. I know Steven was the first one for sure.
Okay.
So yeah.
And I just don't. I still don't get it then.
Yeah. And I guess we could say because I don't know. Mr. Knight might be another separate alter at this point. I'm not sure. If he is, maybe you can say that because Mr. Knight was never the one to go there. But still, I don't really know.
I still wouldn't explain how Loki got it.
Yeah.
And why he would just instantly target Mr. Knight.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, this took
And, well,
place afterwards where he knows all the other symbiotes are there.
He said he didn't even want to go for Mr. Knight, though, and he, for some reason, wanted to fucking go for Khonshu.
Yeah, he wanted Khonshu. He wanted to kill Khonshu.
Did Khonshu have a symbiote? Because it looked like he stole something from him, but I was like, why does Khonshu have a symbiote then? Like, what?
Yeah. None of this was explained well at all. It's just,
Yeah.
You get thrown into the Groundhog Day bit, and you honestly can't tell what's real and what's fake the entire time. And I mean, even in the end, you don't even know if that's real at that point, because Loki turns out to be a strip club dancer.
Yep.
So, like, in the end, you don't even know if any of that actually happened, or if that's just all some sort of a weird-ass dream.
Yeah, I take back what I said about this.
Yeah, I don't know how you...
I do still think this is the best issue of the series, because I wasn't bored while reading it, I will say. I was confused, sure, but I wasn't bored. But, yeah, I don't think it's good, though.
Yeah. No, honestly, I think this is, like, the most confusing thing I've, like, read today, maybe besides our first episode when I read, what was that, the...
Captain America Cold War Omega?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that would do it.
Honestly, yeah, none of this, I don't get it. Maybe someone smarter than me would, but I don't know. Anyway, I give this a 4, dog.
Give it a 6. You still want to read the next one?
Being gracious with these.
I had it at a 7, but I'm gonna lower it to a 6.
I mean, we probably mentioned that this is the last one we're gonna be talking about.
Yeah, we will be on break when the next issue comes out, so we won't be talking about it. But are you gonna read it?
Oh man, I mean, I feel like I should just read it, to get it over with. No, you should too. Yeah. I mean, the cover looks cool, though. I will say that.
The cover does look cool. The best thing about the series has been the covers. The covers are usually very cool. I will read What If Venom #5 when it comes to Marvel Unlimited in a few months, but I will not read it. I will not buy What If Venom #5.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, moving right along. Goodness gracious. Let me talk about Batman and Robin real quick then.
Oh yeah, that's also a thing that exists.
Yes. All right. So writer is Joshua Williamson and artist is Simone DeMeo again. And if you guys have been following along in this podcast, you will know that I haven't been liking his art.
Yep.
On this series at least.
I did know that. Yeah.
And that still holds true kind of. Halfly. I have noticed it's only when it's nighttime. When it's dark out, all of the colors just blend for him, and
that's the problem.
Super hard to tell.
Yeah, I think Simone DeMeo's line work is very good, but the coloring and the lighting is awful. I think a lot of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's super hard to tell at night. But during the day, like there was like half of this took place at night, half of this took place during the day. The day ones were great. I was like, oh yeah, this is like the art is awesome. But when it turned to night. Especially with Man-Bat, he's all gray. Fucking hell, he's hard to tell sometimes. So, yeah, all right. Well, anyway, story-wise, you will know that after the last issue that, oh my god, I forgot her name. Flatline, there we go, has basically joined Damian in high school to figure out who, to figure out, or to, like, basically expose that soccer coach lady was like his previous mentor,
right,
from the League of Shadows, and also that Batman got captured by Man-Bat because of Shush. And so in this issue, you kind of learn what Man-Bat's plan is, basically to like release this virus all across Gotham that like does something to people. I think it was like turns them into the animals, and then he'd basically go out and save them. He's really pulling like a Syndrome from Incredibles 1,
Okay.
And then it goes to Damian and Flatline in the school, right? Trying to figure out Mr. Harsh. And so their plan is basically to like single her out to get her alone. And to do this, they need to get detention. So they start a food fight in the cafeteria. This lands them in detention where Damian confronts her. And she basically reveals like, yes, I was Mr. Harsh. And so they kind of have a scuffle with like the soccer kids who... It's kind of hinted that she has also been training them, but like Damian literally like wipes the floor with them. Like they literally don't know how to fight. So I don't really understand what the insinuation was there at all. So from behind, Mr. Starch gets taken out by, I think it's like the art teacher. It's the one that talked to Bruce when they had like that potluck. I'm pretty sure you read that issue, but I'm pretty sure it's the art teacher. But she basically she tasers Mr. Starch. And she knocks her out. And she says something to the bullies that, because of that, reveals herself to Damian as she is Shush, actually.
Huh, okay.
Yes. And so she basically gives her backstory about like why she is Shush. She worked as a doctor with Hush, which was Thomas Elliot,
Right.
I think is
Yep.
what his name is. And basically like he was her mentor as like a doctor. Like he like trusted her with all that stuff, and she didn't know he was Hush, but she would notice that he would like leave randomly and like never come back and stuff like that, and so she would like cover for that while they were doing like surgery and stuff like that. And so when it came out that he was Hush and stuff, she got brought in front of the board. It was exposed that like she would like cover for him and stuff like that, and so they like basically fired her and she like lost everything. And so she became a school teacher and she discovered the Church of Man-Bat, and like he basically offered like to take down Batman, and she took it, but then she felt bad because like Man-Bat betrayed her and like yada yada. So he's like not really evil. She just like hated Batman for like basically essentially ruining her life. But like she's like just a normal person. Like she doesn't really know how to do all this stuff. She just and so she felt bad the fact like she realized that like Batman actually wasn't a bad guy or whatever because she felt bad that like he saved her when she just wanted to like kill him and stuff like that. So she tells Damian that like Man-Bat has Batman, and so he like solves the clues and figures out where they are, but it's too late. Man-Bat releases the bats, and he also infected Batman, and so he basically is gonna like frame Batman for doing all of this, and yeah, that's how it ends. I'm still liking the story. Like I said, I still think it's pretty good, the story wise, and art wise was great during the day. Like that whole school bit, like Damien and Flatline, still really great. The nighttime ones are the ones where it just gets really hard to tell everything. Yeah, but besides that, still really liking this one. So yeah, I gave it a 7. This one though would have been an 8, but the darkness, man.
Okay, let's do Redcoat. Gonna do Redcoat number 2 now. This is written by Jeff Johns. The artist is Brian Hitch. So here's the thing, right?
Yes.
I like this series more or less.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been having fun with this. I think it's just a fun, kind of lighthearted, fun little romp, for the most part. I think the humor works more or less, not always, but I think it's mostly pretty fun. This issue starts off right after the end of the last one, where Simon has just been dug up by young Albert Einstein, and so they're surrounded by the cultists from the first issue that were present when Simon stole the immortality thing from Ben Franklin and became immortal himself. So right after that, like, I think the humor works best in this sequence. Actually, there's a couple, I think, good gags. The first one is when he's talking about how like he was always been such a bad shot. He's just been doing it so long though that he's kind of just gotten a knack for it ultimately, but it took him like hundreds of years. And the last panel where he's actually shooting people, he's just like, people seem to just be like running into his bullets. He's kind of like falling over, but still being able to hit them and everything. And then the other part is after the big fight, during the fight, he gets stabbed by like an axe. We'll get back to that axe later. But so Albert Einstein is like, Simon, we must go. We are outnumbered. There's too many of them. Simon, where are you? And he looks around, and Simon is already hopped in the fence. I think that was a fun little gag there. But so then they basically take a long train ride, ultimately over to Benedict Arnold, who we find out is also immortal. He's the only other immortal in the world. But on the way, he and Albert Einstein have this talk on the train ride where essentially this series is fucking weird. I just realized this, like thinking about this, I'm like, this is a weird fucking series. But essentially, Albert Einstein's sister is now like a precog, and she has visions about the future, which initially Albert Einstein was not convinced because he's very much this scientific mind, and he doesn't believe in the supernatural. But after this, eventually, like some of the visions that his sister were having started coming true. So he was like, okay, there's something clearly here. And so one of the things they reference is Simon himself. They also mention Geiger. They do make mention of the glowing man walking across the wasteland. And the other one is seemingly, so they're talking about how America's gonna burn. It's gonna burn from shore to shore. It's gonna be all covered in hellfire and everything. Initially, I kind of brushed that off as some kind of maybe satanic, just whatever ritual thing that just the devil shows up and just hell swarms America. But I think it is also very possible that is actually in reference to the unnamed war, which is the nuclear war that kickstarted the radioactive wasteland where Geiger now walks. I think that's actually maybe what that might be referring to, and they're trying to stop it. But I have a feeling this is kind of building up to whatever crossover is kind of going to happen with these characters in this universe. I think we're going to get to the point where the unnamed war does happen, and Redcoat will be there, and then he'll survive, and then it'll just kind of keep going. And maybe that's not the case. There's a lot of like
Yeah.
clearly like demon, supernatural stuff going on in this series in some form or another. But that was just kind of my interpretation. Anyway, they go and they meet Benedict Arnold. He's kind of an asshole, and essentially they have a bit of a talk. And he's by the way, he's an asshole, but he's much more well off than Simon is. Like he's clearly like figured out a way to kind of game the system, so he's just always very wealthy and in a very extravagant life. But so he talks to Simon. They tell him about the axe and how Simon has been having some problems since he got stabbed by the axe. And essentially, Benedict Arnold's like, yeah, the axe, now that you've been stabbed, it's going to kill you in 3 days and you will not resurrect. And that's where the issue ends. So again, like, I just think this is fun. And it's interesting because, again, typically I don't really gel with Jeff Johns' writing style, or at least I haven't with, his indie stuff that I've been reading recently, Geiger and to a lesser extent, Junkyard Joe. I did like Junkyard Joe more, but I think, like, for whatever reason, I just think that it's just a fun, lighthearted series that I've been kind of enjoying for the most part. I don't think it's probably not the best series in this universe right now. That is probably still going to Rook Exodus. Again, we've only had one issue of that. We'll see how that goes next week when we talk about issue number 2. But I definitely do think this is better than Geiger right now. And overall, just a very fun series. So I've been enjoying this one. I think I think Simon's a fun little Tony Stark-esque character. I don't really. The inclusion of Einstein I'm unsure about yet. It feels a little bit weird, but I'm willing to keep an open mind about that for now. So yeah, I've been enjoying this series so far, and I think this is one of those not a bad second issue, pretty decent.
Yeah, honestly, I think I would have liked this one more if I could honestly understand what the fuck Albert Einstein is saying. I'm gonna be real, trying to decipher what the fuck he was saying. Made my fucking head hurt. Jesus Christ, they wrote it with such a thick fucking accent.
Yeah, it is an insanely thick German accent. Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Like literally like that. Some of that conversation in the train ride, I couldn't. I just skipped over it. Like, I was so done with trying to like figure out what the hell he was saying. Oh my god. But besides that, really, yeah, I'm just kind of really indifferent with this one and Geiger. I just I don't know, man. It's just like, I don't find them bad, but I just don't find them like really good. Like, they're just like, okay, cool, that's a fun read. Like, they're interesting characters. I will say I find Simon more interesting than Geiger right now.
I do think the series has more personality.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably that's exactly what it is, actually. Besides that, really, you basically cover everything. And I mean, I understand that Albert Einstein is an American, whatever. And I understand he's a child, so he doesn't have he still has that thick accent, but Jesus Christ.
He literally, I think they explain, like, he pretty much just came over to the U.S.
Yeah.
Like right before this issue, yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But, like, Jesus fuck, man. It was, like, seriously, some of that conversation I just saw, and I swear I just saw German for part of it. I was like, dog, what?
Yeah.
I literally saw, like, one paragraph on that, like, literally there was, like, one panel where it was just pure, like, Albert Einstein talking, and I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. But besides that, really, yeah, I'm enjoying this one. It's all right for me right now. Like, it's nothing too crazy, but yeah, it's not terrible. Yeah, I bumped it down a bit because of because of Albert Einstein, and I gave it I gave it a 6.
I gave it an 8.
Let's talk about the one that's not part of an event. Ultimate X-Men.
Okay, this is Ultimate X-Men number 3, written and drawn, and pretty much everything except lettered by Peach Momoko. So this one, at first glance, not even at first glance, it doesn't really push the main story forward.
No,
but
really.
Yeah, this is mostly focused on the origin of May.
Yes.
Which took me a while to realize, because it starts out with Hisako and May just talking. And then it flashes back, and in the past, May's hair was black, not like silver like it is now. And so I thought this was a flashback to Hisako and not to May, until like the very end when she like freaks out and uses her storm powers. So that origin is essentially she I don't really know how much this first part relates to it, but she moved to the town recently. And so her parents, or her mom in particular, asked her to go and introduce themselves to the next door neighbor. So May goes over there. There's a cat that's like running away, and there's like a creepy like it seemed like at first like it might have been the shadow person. I think it probably was.
I mean, we saw them at the end of the last issue. They were in the closet.
Right. So I think it is that same person, and like a creepily kind of peering around, and the cat was seemingly like running from it, and then so May tries to return the cat. The shadow dude like grabs it, and then it like rips May's arm open, stretches it open. And then she goes home. There's an altercation. There's a big argument between her and the entire family. It sounds like her parents are probably going to get divorced. And then she like starts saying that like her dad sucks, which he does. And then he slaps May, and then she's like, oh god.
Yeah, she does exactly that.
Yeah, she starts coughing uncontrollably. Yeah, no. Like she like screams and she does a big storm power, and then she makes a big storm in her house, and then her hair turns white. And the way she describes it to Hisako is that she just thinks she wanted it really, really badly. And that's how it kind of came to be. And the other thing is, what's interesting is she did see a news article of Storm, like Storm in Africa. Yeah, there's a point where you see her read an article on that. So I do wonder if her powers are actually not necessarily Storm powers, and that she instead has some sort of generative ability where she can kind of take powers from others and then kind of use because there are characters like that in 616, particularly there's one Sync who, if he's around another mutant, he can sync up their powers. And so if you have Sync and Jean Grey next to each other, he can use Jean's powers, and you have two Jean Greys. So it could be a situation like that where she's not exclusively Storm powers, but has the ability to also pull other powers there, and that her Storm powers are just inspired that way because she saw Storm, and that was just kind of the first thing that I don't know if that's true. Could be totally off base. But then it flashes back to the present, or jumps back to the present, and they're just hanging out, and Nico Minoru is just hanging out there as well. And she's like, hey, you guys are mutants too, huh? Pretty cool. And that's where they start. So, yeah, I mean, I think, like, still good. Initially, I didn't know if I liked this quite as much as the other couple, but I think I still do. I think this is at least on par with the level of the first two issues. I think it's a bit of a slow burn, but I think it works, and I think the creepy undertone that's building is providing just enough momentum to kind of keep the story flowing in a way that feels natural and solid and organic and compelling. The art still is same as ever. I think it still looks solid. I think I was a little bit less wowed by it this time because there is less of the kind of creepy stuff that I think Peach Momoko does best. However, that like double page spread where May's going full Storm, that was cool. I think that all worked. Also, the cover is great. It's like I think my favorite cover of the series thus far. It might even be my favorite cover this week. I think it probably is. Although that Doom cover is very cool as well. But so yeah, I think it was just a very solid flashback. I think May is an interesting character. I'm interested to see like kind of more of how she fits into this new X-Men team. And generally, I just think this is a very solid series. So yeah, I quite enjoyed this.
Yeah, I love this one. This one was great. I actually really liked the fact that how the whole flashback bit took place, where you didn't instantly know it was actually May until like the very end. I thought that was actually very clever, and like it was like a huge like, oh, that's who and it like all made sense, right? Because like it was just her and May and Hisako. Yeah, they were just talking, and she asked her about the powers. And then it flashback, but it wasn't like a traditional flashback where you could like tell it like flashback. It was just the fact that like it just flashed back, and you just when it flashed back, you thought it was Hisako, right? Because you kind of saw like the bullying and stuff like that, which we know Hisako has seen, and so so you kind of thought it was a bit of more of that, but just like after. For me, I thought it was like after the fact, and I didn't really tell it was May until obviously that her hair turned white and she like used her powers and stuff like that. And so, but for you to like for the way it was written, I just thought it was like I just thought it was really well done, where you didn't instantly know it was like her flashback of like how she actually got her powers and all that stuff. I thought was really well done. I thought it blended very well.
So I will say to that point, I did go back and check once I figured out it was May. They do actually make it fairly clear. It's just hard to the hair color. Because the way they do it is when Hisako asks May about like how she got her powers, there's a panel on May's face in the present. Yeah. And then the next panel on the next page is that same framing on younger May's face. So
Oh,
they do make an effort to show you that it is the same person. I just did not catch that my first time through.
yeah. See, I didn't right because like I've been distinguishing May as just the white silver haired
Yeah,
girl.
right.
So for it to just switch to like the black haired one again, I thought it was Sasako. That's why
Yeah,
I didn't catch that. It was just
right.
because
I was
I've
the
been
same way. Yeah.
yeah, I had been identifying her by her hair color. So like for me to not like, I just think like it was just like well written in that sense. Like if you didn't catch it, you definitely caught it at the end. Like oh,
Yeah,
that's
sure, yeah.
so it's like her explaining that's how she got her powers. Then right after Sako asked, and then yeah, we meet a new character who's Nico, and yeah, so yeah, she is also a mutant. She has, of course, at least in the game. I don't know what her powers are gonna be here.
Yeah, in the comics, typically the way her whole deal works is that she has a staff,
Yes.
and she can use that to channel like spells, but she can only use each spell once, and it all depends on whatever word she says. So if she says a specific word that can correlate to a spell, she can use that, but then she can never use that one again. That's her kind of full powers in the comics. Yeah.
Which I mean, at some point she's gonna run out of words. I don't.
Hasn't happened yet, so yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting power. Like I don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it's that magnifying glass that she has.
Oh, I see. Yeah, probably that would make sense. Yeah.
I really like this one. I thought it was great. Still loving the art, and yeah, really good. I gave it an 8.
I give it an 8 as well. We forgot to mention there's also a point early on where I forget the name of this thing, but they are using essentially the Japanese equivalent of like a Ouija board at the very start. And it seems like the Shadow Dude might be there with them because there's some random kid there. What's that?
Yeah, I thought that was part of the flashback.
I don't think it was. It was literally the first
I mean, I
part
could
of the
be wrong,
issue.
But...
Maybe it was, but either way, I think that might have been the Shadow Kid there because it did kind of look like him. Yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's also a thing that I forgot to mention. Anyway, let's see. Let's do the Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt now. This is the Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt #1, continuing off directly from the Amazing Spider-Man number 49 last week, which was also a Blood Hunt tie-in. That was part of the main series. This one is written by Justina Ireland, and the artist, we have a couple here. One of them is Marcello Ferreira, who he's the artist on the main story. And then there's also a backup story, which has art by Chris Campana. So, I don't know. I didn't think this was that good. I thought this was just kind of okay.
I mean, all right, listen. When you see a character on the cover, you think he's gonna be in the main story. And let's be honest. Was he?
No. But let's also be honest. Is that a bad thing? Because I think any story with Morbius in it, automatically, I think anytime Morbius is in a comic, that comic gets worse. So,
I mean, I don't know. The movie was so good that they brought it out twice. So he's gotta be a good character.
So funny. I still love that Sony was so fucking stupid that they believed we wanted to see that movie again.
Honestly,
first time. That might be the best consumer to company troll that's ever happened. I fucking love that.
So funny. We memed him so hard that they were like, yeah, people want to see it again, and nobody went to see it.
We gotta do that aim with Craven when that comes out.
Oh my god.
Honestly, I wish more people had seen Madam Web in theaters. And again, it's not a good movie, but it's so fucking funny.
Dude, okay. It's gonna be a bit of a tangent here. You're probably gonna have to cut all this out, but
I'm keeping this all in.
Okay, that's fine then too. But correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the Craven trailer come out before the Madam Web trailer?
Probably, it might have.
I'm pretty sure it did.
That movie's gotten fucked. I think that was supposed to come out before Madam Web did. It just kept getting pushed back.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was, and I feel like at this point, I'm feeling like Madam Web was like fucking rushed to shit, and like Craven's just taking its sweet ass time.
That movie snuck up on me when I saw the trailer for Madam Web. I was like, "Holy shit, they made this!" And I didn't even realize.
Saying. Yeah, like I knew Sony wanted plan.
Right, I knew it was in development.
Movie,
yeah,
but like when the trailer came out, I was like, "Holy shit, already!" I was like, "What the?"
Yeah, that movie's on Netflix now, though. I think it's so funny. Everybody, if you have Netflix, everybody should watch it. It's hilarious. It's bad. It's so funny. Yeah. Anyway, though, back to Bloodhound Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, so Morbius on the cover. He's not in the main story. He's in the backup.
Yeah.
The main story though picks up right at the end of the last issue of ASM, where Peter and the Lizard have a bit of a fight. I did not realize. Apparently, Kurt Connors has been separated from the Lizard. So
I didn't know that either.
He's just a Lizard now. He seems more to be kind of a Killer Croc kind of thing now, except with even less intelligence. So they have a bit of a fight, but it turns out it was actually just because Misty sent Lizard to go and try and get Spider-Man's attention because Misty wants his help. Essentially, Morbius has been working on a cure. By the way, everybody's calling him Dr. Mike in this issue.
Yes.
I don't know why, but I really was bothered by that. I was like, what
I hated that.
the fuck?
Honestly.
Yeah, I was like, why?
I mean,
I don't know why I got so upset about that.
Dr. Mike, like, I assume it's abbreviation of his like first name, his actual name, like Michael,
right.
but like, I didn't like it.
I know, I was like, what the fuck is this? Anyway, he's apparently been working on a cure with the Lizard. It's unclear if it's Kurt Connors or just the Lizard. It made it seem like it was just the Lizard, but like,
I think it was
this
just
version
the
of the Lizard.
Lizard.
This version of the Lizard does not seem capable of doing that though, so I don't really know what's going on there. Anyway, though, they go to the lab that. I mean, they go to Misty like dropped the tracker on Morbius. It didn't work. They lost him. They went to a building where they thought he was. He wasn't there. So they go to an old Beyond lab. He's also not there. And eventually Pete goes back there and he sees something about Maxine Danger, who's like the CEO of Beyond right now. I don't know what's going on there. I fucking hate all of the Beyond stuff that I've read. Every time they show up, I'm like bored to shit. Yeah.
I don't even know what Beyond is, so.
Yeah, they're a corporation. They did some stuff with Ben Reilly and stuff.
Oh.
So, yeah, then they go to like a church because Misty knows a priest that she wants to bless their weapons and give them holy water and stuff. And then then Pete goes back to the Beyond lab. He goes back to the church and it's swarmed by vampires. And they're like, this is going to be a long night. And they're like all suited up and Lizard is also there about to fucking kill a bunch of vampires. The backup is pretty simple. It's just Colleen, who also got kidnapped with Dr. Mike, as they call him. They kind of bust out of the truck that they were being held in and they fight a bunch of vampires. And then it's unclear if Morbius is the one to down Colleen. I think it is. I think he takes her down and turns on her. And then some other fucking dude shows up. His name is TJ. So he's going by Theocritus now.
His vampire name.
Yeah. And there was a caption box saying like, oh, you'd know this guy from the Hallows Eve miniseries. And I'm like, bro, I fucking read that entire miniseries. I don't know who the fuck this guy is. So, and then that was and he's like, I want you to finish your cure, Morbius. That's what I want. Even though I just had you like fucking bring me Colleen Wing for some reason. I don't know. This sucked. I didn't like this very much actually.
It was kind of a bit, not even all over it was kind of all over the place actually, yeah. So we track down Morbius with a tracker. That fails. Lizard picks up his scent to a place where I'm assuming they have always been doing their research, honestly, because the Lizard kind of knew his way around that place. So that I don't know why they didn't just go there in the first place with Lizard, but anyway, that was also a dead end. It gave Misty and I an idea of where they might be, and so they decide to bless their weapons because of this, which, I mean, I'm putting together now that I'm assuming Misty knows that, like, where they went, there is, like, essentially, like, where Theodocritus or whatever his name is, and so there's a lot of vampires, and that's why they went to go bless their weapons. But at the same time, they seem to have been doing fine without blessed weapons, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
And then what else? Yeah, so Spidey left some, like, web fluid to get blessed. Misty can't get her guns blessed because he refuses to do that, and then they were surrounded by the time Spidey gets back from doing his own research because he doesn't fully trust Misty. And then the side story is also just kind of, honestly, I don't even know why we have it. We really don't need to know what's going on with Morbius and Eileen. Eileen gets bit. Anyway, I don't think it was, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think it was Morbius. I think it was Theodocritus or whatever that did
I don't know. Just the way it was staged, because Theocritus was in front of Morbius and Colleen was lying in a heap behind him. So I just thought it must have been him.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't think Morbius would do it. I mean, I don't know, maybe, because, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the rules of, like, turning in this universe. But, like, isn't it like once she gets bit, she gets turned into a vampire too?
Yeah, but Morbius can't turn people, I don't think.
Yeah, but I don't think, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it was Morbius that bit her.
I mean, well, no. If she's a vampire, then it was not Morbius. But if she's not a vampire, then it probably was Morbius who bit her.
Assuming those are the rules of vampirism in this universe, yeah, man. This is the first, like, bad, like, real, honestly, like, Blood Hunt one where I'm just like, man, this was just like straight up like not it.
Yeah.
Because even like last week's the what was it, Blood Hunters
Strange
one?
Academy was probably the one.
Strange Academy 2 was just like not doing it for me, but this one like really didn't do it for me. Thank Christ there was only one Blood Hunt one this week though. Like that's for real.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this story was kind of everywhere. For me, I thought Morbius would do it, and he did not.
Yeah.
Did not.
Maybe if they release that movie a third time, then I'll like this issue
Maybe
better. Yeah.
Maybe I'll actually see it in theaters. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give this one. This is a tough one. I think I'm gonna give it a 6 though. Yeah.
I gave it a 6. I'm giving it a 5 now. I'm dropping
down.
that.
Let's go with Suicide Squad.
Okay, this is Suicide Squad Dream Team number 3, the second to last issue of the series. Written by Nicole Maines. The artist is Eddie Barrows. And also we have another artist credited, Jose Luis Soares Pinto. This is as we've kind of been talking about. This is building up to absolute power little by little. Mostly just in the form of Dreamer's struggle against Amanda Waller. She's clearly going to be a big. Both of them are obviously Waller, but Dreamer seems to also be presumably kind of a big part in that event coming up. So this one, Dreamer has gone rogue after last issue, and so the Suicide Squad has been sent by Amanda Waller to track her down and bring her back to Waller. She is not expendable like the other squad members, so they can't just pop her head. They want her, like, since she has the precog powers, they want her over there to help realize Amanda Waller's absolute dream of absolute power. So they go to the city that's full of aliens that Waller that Dreamer did not want the world to know about, but then Waller was like, well, these guys exist. And so they go there because Dreamer is there because there's a lot of people who are gathering around the city and trying to kick all the aliens out of the city. So Dreamer goes, she's kind of taking a bunch of them down. The squad shows up. They have a big confrontation, and then Dreamer leaves because she goes cross town to where some people are they're lighting the school on fire in this alien town. So Dreamer stops them, saves some people there. The squad shows up again. They have another big argument and conversation here where the squad members, most of them, are saying hey, we're kind of with you, Dreamer. We fucking know Waller sucks, but this is not the way to beat her. Come back with us. You can then be close to her and have a better way to take her down if you need to. So Dreamer kind of is conflicted about this. She goes back and forth. And then I think while she's kind of distracted, it seems like she might choose the town ultimately, but then Black Alice just knocks her out.
Yeah.
And they get Dreamer at the end. That's where it ends. I think for me, the conflict between Dreamer and the Suicide Squad in this issue is really solid. I think it's really sharp. I think everybody is written within their character. I understand why Black Alice wouldn't necessarily care about this town and even necessarily care about taking down Waller. She's just I just need to fucking not have my head explode, so I will just bring you back. Obviously, Deadeye, Waller's nephew, he has very legitimate motivations for going after Waller. Harley is as well. Her relationship with Dreamer has been built up over the series. I think that all felt very organic, and I think Dreamer's kind of crisis of faith between these two sides was very interesting. I think, and that whole kind of both conversations between her and the squad, I think were really, really well handled. And so I ended up really actually liking this one a lot, more than I thought I was going to. I know because I liked the first issue, but then I do feel like the second issue kind of dipped off a little bit for me. So I wasn't super looking forward to this one, but I ended up being very pleasantly surprised by it again. I thought this was a very strong outing. So yeah.
All right. So I really did like the the dynamic of Dreamer and the kind of not the rest of the team, because it was really just Harley and Deadeye. Bizarro,
he just wants to be a hero, I think. Yeah, he thinks that by taking down Dreamer, he can do that.
Like you said, Black Alice just doesn't want to die. Clock King is Clock King. He's
always got his own game going on. Yeah,
he didn't really have much to say. And then Deadeye for me was mostly Deadeye and Harley Quinn. Deadeye being listen, I understand. I hate my aunt too, but this is not the way to go about it. And then the same with Harley. Harley being listen, I've got a life now. People that care about me, friends that care about me. I've got students that I gotta go after. I can't risk getting my head popped. So let's please just come in. I don't want to fight you. But besides that, really, not much else really. Just that whole dynamic and just the whole dilemma of what Dreamer really can do, because at this point she's just Waller's just so much smarter and just so powerful in general that realistically what can Dreamer do? To move stuff along, I did see that we saw the blueprints for the Amazo robots at one
right.
panel. I know those are going to be a big thing. We saw them in the Dreamer flashback. Was that last issue, or was that the?
She's had one vision in the first issue of this series, and then she had another one in the Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah,
issue.
I think the one I'm thinking of is the Free Comic Book Day issue, which technically takes place after this one.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I don't really know what the fuck's going on with the scheduling of this event. It's kind of all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, I really like the whole like talks that Dreamer had mostly towards the end. The car ride there, I fucking hated. I hated Bizarro honestly so much. But yeah, besides that, it was I actually really I really liked the whole dilemma bit and just like the existential crisis of Dreamer not being like basically not knowing what to do at this point. Like she really like you could tell how much she wants to take down Waller, but at the same time she just does not know how.
Yeah.
And so she's just like really stuck in a hard place right now, just kind of just it's like breaking down in a sense, like just like not knowing what to do. And so I really like that. But yeah, besides that, and Bizarro really kind of just leveled it out for me. So yeah, I gave this one a 7.
I gave this one an 8. Okay, I guess let's do Green Lantern. This is Green Lantern number 11, written by Jeremy Adams. There are a couple artists on this. One of them is Zermanico, although I think I might have been pronouncing his name wrong the whole time. It might be Hermanico. And then also Amante Nahuelpan is the other one. So yeah, this is I got up to date on Green Lantern and I missed last issue, but I am back up to date with this series now. So this is split between a couple different things going on here. We have 2 parts in the present, one with Carol, one with Hal and the Corps. We have a big flashback sequence with both Hal and Carol, kind of their story previous. So on the Carol side in the present, she's just like to her boyfriend, just like, hey, let's just fucking elope to Vegas and get married. So they do that. They go over to Vegas. They go to this fucking Superman themed like wedding place. Apparently there's a religion based around Krypton on Earth. They say they're like from the Church of Krypton, and they are, allowed to do weddings. And in the vows and everything, not the vows, but like all the stuff they ask you before you get married, it's all like Superman themed. They're like, will you run faster than a speeding bullet and jump over all your problems or something? It's just like, okay. I thought that was kind of fun. It was a little bit dumb, but I think it was kind of fun.
Yeah, like that feels very Vegas, honestly.
Yeah, sure. I've never been to Vegas. So
I have never been there either.
So there's that, and then that's also how we kind of get into the flashback stuff where on the way to Vegas, Carol's kind of reminiscing on her previous relationship with Hal when they were kids. Like Hal was kind of always getting in trouble. And then at one point he was kind of talking to the principal, stole the principal's car keys, and then just fucking drove to Vegas with Carol, and they were trying to do like slot machines and stuff. And then ultimately that's what ended up getting Hal kicked out of that school and onto a boarding school. And then on the core side, we have after the kind of big shit that was going down last issue, now Hal is once again kind of back to being like, well, why don't we just go to the planets, tell them what's happening? Especially because one of the rogue lanterns that's on Tharos's side is like, well, like Tharos betrayed him, so now he's like, well, yeah, I'll help you guys out. And so they go bust into the United Planets area and kind of say like, yeah, this is what's happening. Tharos is sending out his like rogue lanterns that can change, on the emotional spectrum. He's sending them out to go and destroy all the power batteries on all these planets if they don't join the United Planets. And so one of them is like, is this happening? Is this accurate? And then it turns out that all the United Planets have been replaced by members of Tharos's family. They're all shapeshifters. So then they're like, well, shit. What do we do now? And they kind of lay a trap. I think they take down a lot of lanterns as well, not in that room, but like other of the rebel lanterns across the planet. Yeah.
Because basically at their secret hideout, they just they left some lanterns and they got infiltrated over there.
Yeah. And so then right before Carol is about to get married to this other guy, then there's a ring that pops up, and she's like, it's Hal, and that's where that issue ends. Then we have the backup story, which picks up from the last one. This is the House of Brainiac tie-in. Essentially, Guy Gardner is with Lobo or not Lobo. It's kind of unclear still, actually.
It's not Lobo.
It's probably not him, but he's saying some stuff where I'm like, well, it could be him. It's probably not though. So they completely ignore the space dolphins from last issue. They just hide in like a fucking casino bar area. And so Guy tries to kind of transmit to the United Planets and be like, hey, I've got Lobo. I'm gonna, come and fucking bring him to you guys. And this Zarnian, because Guy can't figure out the technology, so this Zarnian like helps him in quotes, but actually he just transmits it to like the Bounty Hunter Corporation because there's a big bounty on Lobo. And then all these bounty hunters show up to take down Lobo and do the bounty on him, or not Lobo. And then not Lobo's like, well, I don't think this was such a good idea, so let's just fucking book it now. And I think that's pretty much where it ends.
Yeah, they get as he's saying that, they get like essentially he gets recaptured by Brainiac.
Right. Yeah.
Guy goes with him because he's like connected to him.
So main story is great.
Yeah.
For the most part, this series is just like, it's very consistent. I know I've said before that I think that Birds of Prey, when it's good, is the best DC book. However, I think this is probably the most consistently very good DC book right now. I love all the cosmic stuff that's going on in it. I love the whole like lanterns that can change them, like change their emotional color spectrum thing. The United Planet stuff I think is all interesting enough. I think the politics of that is interesting, and I think the way it develops is very very interesting and satisfying. I think it's clearly building some solid momentum, and I do think that since we've gotten past the Sinestro stuff early in the run, it's gotten more fresh feeling and unique, and I really feel like there's some momentum building. Plus, there's great art. The backup story for House of Brainiac, whatever. To be honest, I have like no opinions on it. I thought it was fine, but not amazing. So yeah, I think on the whole, it's very just very solid book.
No, yeah, I mean, I'm still liking Green Lantern. Just overall, still solid. Still really enjoying it. Interested to see how it explains how Carol's like Star Sapphire ring is still working, considering we just saw their power battery blow up, and how their rings aren't working. So I'm wondering if it's gonna be like kind of like the same deal with like Hal's ring, how it's like not really connected to the power battery or whatever. That's what I'm assuming. I don't truly know. But we'll see how that's all gonna pan out. And so this Lord Premier Tharos, he's proven to be a menace. Yeah, I mean, I still think this is really interesting. Just the whole like dynamic of like him destroying all the power batteries and all that stuff, and just like the whole like how like any like a lantern can use like any emotion on the spectrum or whatever. Like, we still don't really know how that works, and I'm interested to learn more. And so yeah, overall though, still really good. Main story at least. Side story is just I really could care less. Guy Gardner is just insignificant in this one time. He has no idea. Like he just has no idea what's going on in the main story. Yeah, and it's just. So it's just like realistic. It's just like I could really care less.
Probably because he doesn't have the bowl cut anymore.
Yeah, maybe. Like the bowl, we got to bring it back. Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. Still really solid main story. Excited for the next one, I will say. And so yeah, I give this one an 8.
I give this one an 8 as well. And now that would lead us into the final issue of the episode. That is Action Comics number 1065, written by Joshua Williamson, the artists. We have a couple of them. It's Rafa Sandoval and Miguel Mendonça. There's also a backup story, which is written by Joshua Williamson, and the artist is Mirko Kolak. So main story picks up from the end of Superman number 13, where Clark and Lobo are in space, and they're fighting all the other Zarnians. Eventually, they're like, we gotta save our energy. Like, let's just fucking move on. Try to find Brainiac's ship, because he's also getting farther away every moment we spend, like, fighting these guys here. So then we cut to a lot of this issue set on Brainiac's ship. Most of it, I would say, where Kara and Connor, they managed to escape where they were being held, but they're still shrunken down. So they have to go recruit Livewire and Parasite to help them get to the armory, where they find a gun that can regrow them back to their normal height. So they split up. One of the groups goes to try and like rescue the rest of the super family, and the other one goes to kind of try and like fight Brainiac, right? Or like go and talk to him or something. Or no, get Lex. Is it?
No, it was if I remember correctly, it was gonna be Parasite and Kara that were gonna go, and yeah, I think they were gonna essentially fight Brainiac.
Yeah.
But then he captures Kara like instantly.
Right, and essentially shows her that his city is on the ship. I don't know how that works. That we're indoors and then suddenly like the city starts growing and then it's just the top of the ship and I was like, what?
Yeah.
But so they have a little bit of talk. At some point, Kara breaks free from Brainiac and takes Lex and is like, yo, tell me what the fuck is going on here. Like, how long have you been are you working with him? Like, what's been going on here?
Yeah.
Like, and so Brainiac at this point is also like, find them, keep Kara alive, but we don't need Lex anymore. You can kill him.
Yep.
So I don't really remember how this ends, though.
That's how it ended.
Okay. Well, in that case, then it goes on to the backup story, which is about Brainiac's son, who is just hanging out in this place. Brainiac comes to go and get him. He sends some Zarnians down first, but he ends up getting this guy. They have a long talk about what's going on and Brainiac's obsession with Earth and with collecting all these cities and everything. And then at the end, you see Brainiac's son's mom is also there, and that's kind of mostly I think what happens there. I think this is all pretty good. I think I actually preferred the backup story here to the main one. I think the art was really cool in that one.
No, I mean, like fair enough if you think the art was like the main point of that one, but
for me, I think I was a little bit more interested in that side because the core story was just kind of big brawls, and I don't feel like it was really advancing things in a super, compelling manner necessarily. Not to say that it was bad, it was totally fine. And the art was great in that as well. But I do feel like the main story was just kind of a lot of running around and like running in circles trying to figure stuff out. And to me, it was a little bit less interesting. I think the moody atmosphere of the backup and the intrigue behind why Brainiac's, I guess, wife is there and the tension and the standoff between Brainiac and his son. I think that was all really interesting. And not to say that I think it was much better than the main story. I don't think it was that significantly better, but I do think it was a little bit more just kind of intriguing as to what was going on there. Whereas the main story was very much just kind of running around and it didn't really shed too much new light on stuff. And so yeah, I mean, I think it was just a very solid little middle chapter. Albeit, I do think like typically this sort of middle period in events is when I feel like it starts to drag a little bit. I feel like that's when the pacing kind of loses itself a little bit. I think a lot of these events have really strong openings to set the stakes and the action and the suspense and everything. But then I think they oftentimes have these big bombastic conclusions where there's all these insane action, everything comes to a head. But I think the middle can often kind of drag a little bit, and I felt that a little bit with this. Again, not terrible. Still, it was totally fine, but maybe not quite as gripping as some of the other parts in this so far.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I mean, I enjoyed this for what it was. Just big. I don't even know what it was. Honestly, it was just escape. I don't know, man. It was like you said. It moved the story along, but not in like a super compelling way, really.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess I will say one thing that at the Lobo it turns on Superman. Right, because Chakal wants Lobo to take
totally
control.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, Chakal wants Lobo to take basically be the chief of the Zarnians now, because Chakal's none of these other Zarnians are really have the balls to do it, but I know you do, and so Lobo's all right, Superman, let's go. And then back on the back on Brainiac's ship and stuff like that, whatever. Lex, like always, is just keeping things to himself without actually explaining everything. So that's why Kara abducts him to finally get to the bottom of things. That he's literally a Waller. He just knows so much and refuses to reveal. Although Waller's a bit different in this regards that I don't know, keeps her whole everything a secret.
I feel like we have I think we know Waller's motivations, but we don't know Lex's. I think is the
I think that that's exactly what it is. And then the side story, the backup story, whatever. I mean, I just don't really understand why. I don't
I'm sure that'll get looped in the rest of this event. Yeah.
So I mean, the fact that I don't know, man. I didn't really like the side story too much. It was talking, and the fact the art was fine for me. The fact that you couldn't see their faces and stuff like that. It was all super dark and and whatever. I'm sure there was a reason for that. It was for the atmosphere and whatever. But I really didn't care about it. Talking about it to his son and how whatever, and I don't know. I really didn't care about it at all. And so overall, House of Brainiac is turned into something. Honestly, I mean, I feel like we're halfway through this series, and I feel like we still don't really have anything. about
So
this.
I hear, because I had been hearing similar things about this issue from people, and I hear that next issue, the Superman one next week, makes a lot of that clear, and like it makes a lot of what's come before make sense and feel like it was meaningful.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say, like, man, like, none of this, like, I understand that Brainiac needs supers for something. I'm pretty sure it's hinted that, like, it's to fill, like, the knowledge, the hole in his, like, brain,
Right,
that, like,
which is
knowledge,
killing
whatever.
him, yeah.
Yeah, it's killing him, and so he needs a bunch of, like, super abled people to, like, I'm assuming power something. Not entirely sure, but yeah, besides that, like, we don't know anything. Nothing's really happening. It was alright for what it was. I gave it a 7.
I give it an 8, but I think I'm
8?
gonna
Question
drop
mark?
it to a 7.
Yeah.
That would wrap it up for this week. Next episode, we're gonna be talking about some more stuff as always. Next week, we have the second issue of Blood Hunt. I actually managed to score the Red Band edition, so I'll be able to talk about how that compares to the not Red Band one. We also have the finale of Cobra Commander next week with Cobra Commander number 5. We'll see if that kind of builds up some more stuff for the future of the Energon universe. We also have, it's a double Energon universe week next week, because we also have Void Rivals number 9, which appears to be kind of the start of the first, what I would call major crossover in the Energon universe. We've had bits and pieces here, but they've all been pretty small. This is like Transformers stuff is coming into play for like the next 3 to 4 issues of this series, it seems like. So that'll probably be a fairly major crossover. Also, we have Green Lantern War Journal number 9. That series will be ending soon-ish. I like it, but I don't think it's anything amazing.
No.
The Immortal Thor is next week. I really don't know how the fuck they're gonna get to there from where they were at the end of last issue. We'll see though. I'm still excited for it. Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong number 7. That's the finale of that series. That is also next week, as well as Rook Exodus number 2, which is another one of the Ghost Machine books.
Yes.
Then we also have the next issue of Something is Killing the Children there. We also have the next issue of Superman, which again is continuing the House of Brainiac stuff. Then we also have new issues of Titans, Wonder Woman, and Ultimate Black Panther, as well as a Union Jack the Ripper Blood Hunt tie-in. Ultimate Black Panther, obviously we've been pondering the orb for about a month now, so we'll see if we get any more information on the orb. But yeah, anything you want to shout out on your end?
I got 2 here. Superior Spider-Man and the Return of Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, this Spider-Gwen series at least is written by a writer I think is okay. I don't think this writer's amazing, but better than the last series, I think. So anyway, that'll do it for this episode. As always, thank you everybody for watching or listening on whatever platform you may be on. If you are on YouTube, you can of course like the video if you enjoyed the episode. You can also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of our episodes of this podcast. You can also hit the bell notification on our channel so that you get notified when we post new videos over there. If you'd like to let us know what you're thinking about some of the comics that have been released in here, then you can do so in the comment section of this video and let us know what some of your favorite series are. And you can also get in contact with us at our email address. That is earthsmightiestcomicspod@gmail.com. That is all one word. And you can also, if you're on Spotify, you can follow the show over there so you can not miss new episodes over there as well. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching or listening, and we will see you in the next episode.